Hi, everybody. This is Zane with Sailing Views. I have a special guest. This is Brewer. How do you pronounce your name?
Brower.
Brower. See,
Brower.
I should know this. I've talked to you enough. Um,
It's
but
all right.
okay. All right. So this is Cole. She is a excellent sailor. I know she's been racing melges 24s, J70s, open 40s, you name it, a little bit of everything. I see her everywhere. Um, So here you
Yeah.
go. Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit, where you're at, where you're located. Quick little thing like that. Go for it.
I'm Cole, and I'm a boat captain. I'm living in Charleston, South Carolina, and I'm working on about 3 boats at the boatyard here at City Boatyard. 2 Class 40s and one 50-foot cruising boat. Just taking care of them. I delivered them a couple places, and now since everything's canceled, we're mostly just doing maintenance. I buffed the 50-foot boat today.
That's a lot of boat.
It's a lot of it's a lot of boat, and there's a lot of scaffolding and
Yeah. All right. Okay. So let's go ahead and get started on some of these questions.
yeah.
When did you get started sailing, and how did you get started?
I'm actually I'm a weird sailor, because I started super late. When I was a kid, I was like 8 years old, and that was like the first time I was ever on a sailboat, and I hated it, and I thought it was the stupidest. I was like, this boat, it's so slow. It was an FJ. Yeah, was it FJ
Mm,
or JY15 or some shitty soup. Sorry, some really slow, just monotonous. Like, oh, great, all right, tack.
yeah.
Like what is this? And so when I was a kid, I was really into things that went fast. I was into cars and motorcycles and dirt bikes and just rock climbing and much more intense sports that I couldn't really get into sailing. I thought I was just stupid. And so then when I got to college, I was looking into getting into because they had a really good college team out at the University of Hawaii where I went, and so I was looking into just kind of being part of the team over there. I didn't even want to be a student athlete. I just kind of wanted to get out on the water, and it was either that or get into pretty much professional paddleboarding because I was really into paddleboarding. And so I was like, all right, Hawaii's great for, everything. So you could pretty much, but I ended up choosing sailing, and the coach, Annie Johnson, just kind of took me under his wing. And I was like, oh, I don't really want to, be a part of the team. I just kind of want to come and go and be a real
Mm.
college student. And he was like, no, there's no way. You're the perfect size, you're in shape, you pick up things fast. So yeah, just kind of got shoved into it, and now
There you
I'm
go.
now I'm here.
Okay, great. Uh, when did you think you became good? When did you get good? Was it in college or after, or when did you
Um,
think you had arrived?
Arrived. If even now. When I was in college, I spent a lot of time on the water, and we'd only have practice like three days a week, and then sometimes we'd have regattas on the weekends, and I would make an effort to get out there and make sure that I practiced every day, even if we didn't have practice, because I
Mm,
was like, if I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna do it 100%. And I didn't think that that was going to be my mindset, but I just started to love it so much. And so I was pretty good through college. And then by like my senior year of college, I was going to every regatta for women's and co-ed team racing, and then the big boat. So I was pretty much
just
uh,
all in.
just all in, and so that was fun. And then I moved from Hawaii to the East Coast, and then just got my ass handed to me because I realized I wasn't that good. I was like, oh, I was Because I sailed big boats and offshore,
Yeah.
and I sailed around the islands in Hawaii, and I was on bow, I was a driver, I was a trimmer, and I did everything. And I was sailing single-handed, double-handed. So I thought I was the bee's knees, you know?
Yeah.
And I came to the East Coast and I just got beat down. They were like, "You're not good. You're terrible. Like, you gotta learn. You gotta start from the bottom." And I was like, "Oh, wow, I suck," you know. And so I really still feel like I'm trying to get my confidence back up after I moved to the East Coast, because living in Newport, out of your van
Yeah.
and every day hearing you're a shitty sailor, it eventually gets to you.
Yeah. Living in Newport, it's not like there aren't any sailors there to compare against, Yeah,
Oh yeah, and they're all pretty good sailors, and even if they're not good sailors, they still act like
they think they are, yeah.
they're
Yeah.
like, "Oh, I'm so cool. I sail on this IC-37." Sorry. So I sail IC-37s too, so I can't say too much bad
Don't
about
hate
it.
the haters now. Come on.
You don't hate me.
All right.
Yeah, so I guess I really don't think I've arrived yet. I think the closest thing, I say this is weird, but every year I make a goal, and uh, and every year so far I've made the goal. It sounds cocky, but every year, and it's not
Yeah.
a big goal. It's like I always wanted to be a big part of the Class 40 fleet, and
Yeah.
that was last year's goal. And then this year I was supposed to sail with Michael Hennessy for Charleston Race Week, when the Melges 24s,
Mhm.
everything fell apart, and then I got picked up for that. And then him and I have talked about training for the Doublehanded Olympics, and so I haven't arrived. It hasn't happened yet,
You're still
but
working on it.
it's I'm clawing my way, I guess.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
There you go. All right. So I asked you what you did for a living. You're a boat captain. Is that all you do? I mean, you just work on those three boats, or are you a professional sailor? Kind of what else you have going on?
Yeah, I guess I could say a professional sailor. Um, yeah, I do the Melges 24s. I've gotten bounced around the Melges 24 fleet, which has been a very interesting. I had a set team, and then I didn't fit the weight limit anymore, or the weight minimum,
Yeah.
and they wanted me to gain a lot of weight, like a lot of weight, and because I don't weigh anything, and so I got pushed off that team, and so to another team, and then so I've been bouncing around the Melges 24 fleet as one of the pros, and I did the J70s in England at the Worlds, and I did the Melges 24 in Sardinia at the Worlds, and so, but I'm not an expert on small keel boats. Like my expertise is 100% shorthanded offshore racing. So
Gotcha.
when you put me in a tiny keel boat, and you put me in a bow position, and you tell me to hike, I'm like, all right, I'll do it. And but I'm
Okay.
not going to do it for free, because that sucks.
It hurts. Okay.
Yeah, it hurts, and I only weigh 100 pounds, so it's like, well, what really am I doing? So um,
Okay.
I
All
don't
right.
mean to be crass, I guess.
Yeah, that's all right. This is a good place for it. All right. So, what's your favorite boat and why?
My favorite boat right now is the Class 40,
Hmm.
because I started like looking into mini transats, and I really fell in love with them, and I loved them, but I had never been on a Class 40. And
Hmm.
so your whole mindset changes when you go from, working and doing a full refit on a mini transat, and then going to a Class 40. And all of a sudden you walk onto Mike Hennessy's Class 40, and everything's labeled, and
Yeah.
it's like you have headroom, and it's got ballast, and it's just like the
Everything
coolest
works
boat.
like it's supposed to. Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah, until it doesn't. But then there's a 10-step process to fix it, and everything's been tuned, and it's perfect. I mean, yeah, not all Class 40s are like that.
Yeah.
I have found out. But just he like that is like my favorite boat, and like I'm not afraid to say it, like, and he knows it. Mike Hennessy knows that it's my favorite
Hmm.
boat, and it's my favorite boat to work on because one, he's a fantastic owner. No one else takes this job from me, I swear. And and he's a fantastic owner, and the boat's really set up, and he's got it super tuned. And um, I did a delivery from Charleston to Fort Lauderdale in January, and it was madness. I mean, we were flying, and my crew had gotten really, really seasick, and so it was pretty much just me on the boat in about 30 to 36 knots of breeze
Hmm.
downwind, with like two reefs in the main and just a staysail up, and
Yeah.
we were just bombing and jibing, and it was so awesome. And I arrived and I was like, yeah, this is my favorite boat. Like, this is,
That's pretty
I
cool.
don't need to do anything else. Like,
Yeah.
if it was just this boat, I would just do
You'd
that
be
boat.
happy
Maybe
with
I
that.
shouldn't say that.
All right. So, so where's your favorite place to sail? I mean, it sounds like you've been everywhere. What's your favorite place?
Oh, well, Hawaii, duh.
Okay.
Yeah, I've never really lost those Hawaii roots. Those, like, East Coast is great. I did love Sardinia. That was
Hmm.
beautiful. That was super great. And the Gulf Stream. I
Yeah.
mean, I'd rather sail in the Gulf Stream than be close to shore. I mean, you got a lot less crazy people. As soon as you get into the Gulf Stream, it just gets tankers, cargo ships, and a sailboat that's doing, 18 knots. So you
Yeah.
kind of,
Yeah.
it's so much more fun. And Hawaii, it's like, I mean, as soon as you leave the harbor, you're in the middle of the ocean, and it feels like you're in the Gulf Stream with huge waves, and the water's really warm, and it's perfect all the time. So
Yeah.
I guess I don't understand why people don't go to Hawaii and race and sail out there more. I think it's mind-boggling that we want to race out of, you know, the
Don't.
East Coast.
Yeah. Don't bash too many places. All right.
I know, I
So
won't say too
yeah,
much.
shut yourself out of work. All right.
I
So where do you see sailing going in the future?
I see, actually, from my perspective, I'm biased too. I see sailing moving a lot more towards shorthanded sailing and
Hmm.
offshore. I think, and I'm definitely biased on this one, and I know a lot of dinghy sailors, the J70s and melges 24s, are going to disagree with me, but I really think because they're bringing in the 2024 Olympics, I've just seen that there's a lot bigger push to get like academies ready to do shorthanded sailing. I mean,
Yeah.
Rob Windsor is up in Portland, Maine, and he got like 8 Figaro
Yeah.
threes to disperse to college students from all the different academies and military schools. So I think that is one of the places that we need to move to. I mean, Europe has it down,
Yeah.
and
We are
we're
way behind
way,
Europe. Way
oh,
behind Europe.
we're
Just
like light years behind. I mean, we
yeah.
all know, if for the 2024 Olympics, we've already all talked about it, is we're going for third place.
Yeah.
We're not going for second or first. I mean, the Brits have probably got us, and the French.
For sure.
I
Probably the Spaniards, the Italians. I think we'd be lucky to pull off a fifth.
mean, yeah,
It'd be
and
very difficult.
once we see that, I think we're going to get a lot more like younger generation. The
Yeah.
kids are going to be getting into it and going, "Oh, well, this sucks,"
Yeah.
and it's not that difficult to
Yeah.
do.
I just think there's a lot of finances involved with a boat like that, a program like that. That is
Yes.
that's a big hurdle. So I think that could be part of it. Um,
Yeah, well, I mean, all sailing is the finances, but definitely, like, if you're comparing it to the double-handed offshore versus, I don't know, I don't want to say like the 49er.
yeah.
I don't know their lives, and so forgive me. So I don't know. I'm sure that it's just as expensive, but you also don't have to. you know, if something breaks on a class 40, like if you break a mast on a class 40 versus if you
Yep.
break your mast on a 49er,
You can come in, change it, go back out. Yeah.
yeah, you
And,
break
and,
it
it,
on
and
a
it's
class 40, you're
it's
like, well, I guess we're
15
not
grand.
racing for the rest of the season.
Yeah, it's 15 grand, not 100 grand. So, slight cost. All
Yeah,
right.
yeah, yeah, exactly.
All right. So, what's your best regatta or best trip? I mean, you mentioned the delivery you did. You got anything better? Any other one that stands out in your mind?
Ooh. I mean, that's such a cop out. They're all pretty good. I think all of my deliveries, I don't want people to see this on my like, I'm not a buoy banger, and most people that hire me, I've made it very clear normally I'm not a buoy banger. I did that in college and that was lovely. And so my deliveries and my offshore racing is probably my favorite thing to do. I did this delivery really recently, and it was on a trimaran, a Carkeet. Maybe I'm saying that. Yeah, Carkeet 30, and it was sick. I mean, we went from Eleuthera. They flew me in just to help deliver the boat from Eleuthera back to West Palm Beach, and we made it. It was like almost 300 nautical miles, and we made it in 19 hours.
Wow.
We were averaging 15 knots. Like,
Yeah, that's pretty quick.
oh, we were bombing like the whole time. I mean, I drove for probably about 7 hours or something, and I could drive just like it drove itself, and because they have the T-foils on the back, and so it just is so smooth and so easy. And to be in the Caribbean flying over, and I think we were only drawing like, I don't know, 5 feet or something. And so that was a pretty magical,
Yeah, you
I
can
mean,
go
we didn't
anywhere.
sleep. It only took 19 hours. So it's
Yeah,
like, you just lay down on the tramp, and it
life is
wasn't
good.
even, yeah,
Yeah,
that was probably one of the most magical ones. And that one was different. That was like, we had a crew, so it wasn't just a double-handed thing, which was out
yeah,
of my realm. And at first I was a little nervous about it, because like for my deliveries, I like me and one other person. It
yeah,
just makes
yeah.
everything
Better.
easier.
Okay.
And
All right. Well, with all that, what's your worst trip? Worst regatta, worst whatever.
oh, I don't know if I can say it
Uh,
on here.
don't you don't have to out the people, but go ahead
I'm
and
not. I won't say it. No, I'll think of a different one that's not so bad.
oh wait, I think I know which one you're talking about, so I'm
Yeah,
not going there.
I can't say that.
Yeah, don't repeat
I
that
can't
one.
say. I'm not gonna say a bad one. Let me think. This is like the interview question, like, what's your worst quality? And I'm just like, well, I'm a perfectionist, or something like that. Like, um, damn, I should have thought of this. I don't know. I like every delivery I've ever had. It's always been good so far. I guess I've had word like oh, we were in, this isn't that bad, but we were in at the J70 Worlds, and we rocked the nationals, like the UK nationals or something. Like we just had such a good time. And at the Worlds, we kind of struggled a little bit. It was a completely different breeze direction and just completely different systems, and we were definitely struggling. But there was this one day where we went out on the water and we had a bad race, and we were like, all right, that's our throw out. And then like the next race came, and we were like, oh no, that one's our throw out. And
Mhm.
then the next race came, and we were like in like in the back of the fleet with like the mom and pops,
Yeah.
and we're a full pro boat, and our tactician just looks at us and goes, should we go in? Like, is this just embarrassing at this point? Like, should we just
Should we just stop now?
like,
Yeah.
should we just stop now? Like, it's just been such a bad day. And like everyone was just like we weren't even looking up at this point. We were just like down.
Yeah.
And I mean, I can laugh about it now, but it was definitely like the tension on the boat had.
Yeah. Yeah. Nobody wants to talk. Nobody wants to do anything wrong. Yeah.
Yeah, I
Okay.
remember the owner going,
Yeah. And
I remember him saying something, and Michael Goldfarb, I love him to death. This is on War Canoe, and he doesn't talk on the boat very often, and he's like the sweetest guy, and he just does his job, and he listens to the pro. He's just like just a fantastic person, and I just remember him on this day. It was like the first time he actually said something, and he was like, "What the is going on?" Like it was just like one of those days.
yeah.
And so that's one of those days that I think about, and I laugh about it, but
Yeah. It was a bad day.
we were all having just a bad day.
Yeah. The whole boat. All
The
right.
whole
So, what is the most interesting thing you've seen floating by you?
oh 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 that I haven't hit.
Or that you've hit just something interesting floating? I mean,
I
the
was
last
doing.
guy just told me he found a big bale of marijuana out there. I've had a ton of condom stories, fish, dead dogs.
Oh God.
Everybody's telling me all kind of strange stuff. So what have you got?
Oh man, I'm not that cool. Um, I don't know actually. I haven't had that crazy of stuff. Like in Hawaii we'd see a ton of trash. I mean, that's I do a no plastic lifestyle, or I
Hmm.
really try. And I've been doing it for 4 years now. And so we used to see a ton of trash and stuff. I think I can't say the weirdest thing, but probably the biggest thing I ever saw was it was a net, like probably like I want to say like 20 by 20 net, and you could see it. We were coming up kind of fast to it, and I was like, what is that? Like it's just kind of floating and it's above it's and nets are like icebergs,
Yeah.
so you really never know what's going on underneath it. And I just remember being like a, like worried enough where we actually had to fully avoid like
Yeah. Like, okay, we're
90
going
degree
this way.
turn
Yeah.
out around because it was so massive. But yeah, I haven't seen anything like crazy like that. I've seen a lot of weird wildlife. I see a lot of weird wildlife a lot more. I hit a sunfish up in
Ooh,
Maine, and
that's
then they
big.
just I was like, oh, just one sunfish, it's gonna be fine. And then there was like I don't know, pod school, whatever. And it just kept going on for miles. It was like 10 miles of me avoiding
Oh,
sunfish.
wow.
Yeah. So
That's interesting.
yeah. So that's I don't know. I have to hopefully, I mean not hopefully, but maybe I'll see weird stuff. I hit a lot of stuff, but usually it's at night, and I'm like, all right.
That's not normally a good thing.
No, it's usually you can hear the thunk, and it's like, yeah, that was plastic,
Yeah.
or you're like, I don't know, might have been metal.
Yeah.
Hopefully the rudders are still there. And we have like in the class 40, you go down and you can check in little portholes and make sure,
Yeah.
but you'll know if the rudders are gone. I
Oh,
mean,
yeah.
and
All right.
you,
So, one of my next questions here. What's your best role on a boat? I know you do crew boats, double-handed boats. What's your best role, or is it just
ooh,
give it all?
okay, this is the weird part, is that when I lived in Hawaii on big boats, which is gonna sounds weird now, but I was always a trimmer. I was a trimmer all through college. I was a trimmer on every boat I went to. It didn't matter how big the boat was. I used to race and sail on an Andrews 70, and I was a trimmer. I
Wow.
was on a Sydney 41, which these all sound like really old boats because in Hawaii you only have old boats. On a 1D35, I was the main trimmer.
Mhm.
I was even a grinder. Like I didn't never had
See,
owners, which
yeah,
sounds really strange, but we were
yes, it
also
does. Yeah.
we were also really good. Not to sound cocky or anything, but we were really good, and it was like I was in college, so like I knew how to trim a sail. I mean, it's like, meh, okay, and And so trimming was like my favorite thing. Like if I walked on a boat and an owner was like, well, where do you want to go? I'd be like, trim, like I want the spinnaker and I want the jib and I want it now. And it worked and it was awesome. And then when I moved to the East Coast, nobody ever asked me what I wanted to do.
They just stick you in the front and say, here you go.
Yeah, so they were like, oh, you weigh 100 pounds, you're going to be on bow. So the weird part is that I had to learn bow. Like I'm not a bow girl. I had to teach myself bow because they wanted me to as a pro.
Yeah.
But I'm not. Like I was a trimmer, and I was very committed. And that's why I think I got more into the double-handed racing and the double-handed
do more
sailing.
what you like instead of being just stuck in the front. Gotcha.
Yeah, because like I can do bow, but do I choose it? No. I would rather be in the back of the boat either driving or trimming, because like I want speed and I want to know exactly what's going on. And I guess my dream job is to be on to be a navigator, which sounds the complete opposite, but I've gotten really in love with the technology that's out, and practicing doing all my offshore races and my double-handed stuff. It's like I've really fallen in love with having the tablet in front of me and being like, all right, we're going to go here and we're going to do this. And this is our new waypoint. And I got to find this. And like, and so I don't know. But yeah, my favorite position on a boat has always been trimming. So.
All right. Your sailing style, is it aggressive, conservative? What do you think?
I'm sure a lot of people would say it was aggressive. But it goes back and forth, I guess. So like
situational.
Yeah, so I can definitely keep my mouth shut when I have to, or when I'm told to. So, and then, but
when you're told to, they say, shut up there.
If I'm very politely asked not to talk, I'm like, yeah, okay, I get it. I won't. But when it's me and one other person on board, I think I'm definitely the one in charge. I like thought processes, but I also like to be a pretty strong voice in the decision making and stuff. So I back and forth.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. The next question is, what's your favorite project or program you've been involved with? Because I know you've been in a lot of good ones. What's your favorite?
My favorite. I don't know. I think I'm gonna have to go back to and I might regret this because I might think of some other program, but I don't know. Michael Hennessy's program is pretty on point. I mean, he's been doing it for so long, and when I deliver his boat, he's got all the best technology, and he's pretty much got everything tuned in. And so like on a couple deliveries, things have gone wrong, and I can text him because he's got the Iridium Go and stuff on. And so I'll text him, and he'll be in his office in New York.
Yeah.
And I'll be like, hey man, alternator's not working and our batteries aren't being charged. We're going to lose the autopilot pretty soon. And I'm
where
screwed.
do I go from here? Yeah.
Yeah. Nice. And he'll send me a list, like a 10-step list of like, okay, so this is how you put the hydrogenerator in, and you got to go lean off the back of the boat. Don't fall off. And, and then this is the switch that you flip on. And so it's really helped me learn, how to be a better boat captain, because he is not just an owner. He's a racer. He's an amateur racer, but he's like a professional racer in an amateur's life. Yep. And so he has been such a good role model and such a good person for me to kind of like grab onto. And I never feel embarrassed to ask questions. And
Yeah.
that's my biggest concern, I think, with sometimes with the keel boats, is that it's so, sometimes it's a little hooty tooty, like little like I'm special, and I'm like, I don't know anything. And so I like to ask questions and I like to figure it out, because it only takes me, I want to ask first,
Yep.
or, try it, then fail and stuff like that. And with him, it's been like, he's like, oh, just try it. If it doesn't work or you break it, it's fine. We'll fix it.
Yeah.
And so I guess that's right now, that's my favorite
I got you.
by
Well, that
far.
sounds very supportive, and that sounds great. All right, let me move on to the next question.
Okay.
America's Cup. Do you love it? Hate it? What are your thoughts?
Oh, I don't think about it.
You don't think about it. It just
I
sort of.
mean, it's just a bunch.
I mean, you sail against a lot of guys that are in
I
America's
do
Cup.
sail
So.
against a lot of the guys, and they're great. Love them, and but
Why do I feel like there's a big butt coming?
uh,
All
let me think of.
right,
Uh,
you
okay,
don't
like
have to throw anybody under the bus. You can just say love
no,
it, hate it.
I would not. No. The bus is rolling away. No, I I do really I like watching it at the bar. It's great. Love it. Really fabulous. I think because I'm very small, and so it's not anything that um I've ever thought for something for me. And
Mhm.
so I, I'm like, yeah, I watch it at the bar, but it's pretty much, that's like the, which I hate, is that it's like, oh, it's made for the boys. And that sucks for me, and I don't this is going to sound terrible. I don't want to participate, because I'm like,
Because you're not really, you don't think you're allowed. There have been women's teams.
yeah, they're true.
Trust me, I know I have a couple of them lined up for interviews coming up here soon. So there are some women that have done it.
There are some women, and I think with me, I don't. There's so many things I want to say, but it all has a lot of curse words in it, and I'm trying to be very polite. And I think for me, it's I've always seen it as like just a bunch of guys being macho and just trying to like be like, I own this place and I'm awesome and like money, and whatnot. And I'm kind of like, I'm more in the shorthanded world where, we don't have, I mean, we don't have a ridiculous amount of money. We don't have, nobody's filming us. We're more grassroots. I think it's just a
Yeah.
different, like they're more like,
I understand where you're going with this because you got to remember, I'm from Alabama. I have no coaches.
yeah.
I have no support, no help. So yeah, I totally understand where you're going with it.
But I did go and see the Luna Rosa when I
Yeah.
was in Cagliari, and because my coach that for War Canoe, his nephew was one of the grinders or something. So we went over and saw it before it had even been splashed yet, and it was amazing, and it
Yeah.
was gorgeous, and I was like, this is so cool. I would love to one day be a part of this, but I think uh,
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's another world, that's for sure.
I think I see myself more ocean racing, and
Yeah.
let's get out on the ocean, and
All right. Well,
so
that brings me right to the next question. What are your
okay.
future plans? What's coming up next for you?
So I was supposed to be training for the Doublehanded Olympics, and a lot of people don't know that or anything, and it doesn't really matter. I mean, because there's no more training. So I was supposed to be training for that. well, not for that specifically, but for the the J80s, which is kind of like the trial that was going to happen at the Chicago Mac. And so I was going to be training with Mike Hennessy a little bit up in Connecticut, Newport area, and pretty much we kind of discussed it and talked about it, and had a kind of a training schedule figured out. And because the Chicago Mac was supposed to lead then to the World Championships, Doublehanded World Championships, which is in Malta, which was supposed to happen in October, but now everything's kind of up in the air. So I've always wanted to do the Doublehanded Olympics since I heard about it in like 2000 and I don't know, 2016. I'd always kind of been like, that's my niche. That's my thing. And so I guess, yeah, as of right now, I've a bunch of people have been calling me about doing deliveries, but I'm still kind of a little bit nervous about leaving.
Yeah, I got you.
Yeah.
All right, so what do you think of women sailing these days?
Oh, I mean, okay, I do have to say one thing if I'm going to just be completely honest. I don't think women's sailing should have pink shirts. I think that's stupid. Maybe that's
shirts?
super crash, but like if women, if you're hearing me, stop
wearing
pink shirts. Like, I love you and I love women's sailing and I will support it until I can't breathe. But stop. You're just making it worse. Like, you're just kind of like, you're a giant cone at that point, a pink cone. And we don't want to be a part, you know. It's like, that's the separate but equal type of idea. Is like, oh, let's put a bunch of women on a boat and make them wear pink and then shove them out and then laugh at them, and that's all they do is they just laugh at you. I've done the women's sailing. I've done it and it's awesome, but we need to push, like, to train women not to be segregated from the men. We need to train them well enough. I always say, like, I've had a couple women come to me and they're like, hey, we know that you're a boat captain. We know that you do deliveries and I want to be a part of one of your deliveries. And I've had a couple women come to me and say that. And I'm like, yes. Like, where were you a year ago? Like, or when I really needed a crew in January? Like, yes, I will always, which sounds crazy, I will prioritize women to come and help me deliver a boat versus a man, because they're the ones that need the training.
Yeah.
They're the ones that get pushed to the back or to the front, to the friggin' bow. You know, they're the ones that are stuck in these positions and they just keep getting stuck. And breaking out of that position is so hard. So yes, women's sailing, promote it, love it, care for it. But don't forget about trying to get on a boat that's covered in men, because you have to break that barrier. We can't be separate but equal. That's not how race works, and that's not how we should work. And so that's my soapbox. I'll get off now.
You know what? That was by far the best and funniest and the best answer I think I've ever heard. So I loved it. Okay, so best advice for new people getting into sailing. You know, what do they do? Best advice for them.
Oh, move to Hawaii.
Just go out there and see what happens.
Right. Go to the University of Hawaii and sail and have a fantastic time and party lots and meet really good people and train and get out there. That's part A.
Okay.
Part B is I had a really good boat captain that I worked for a little over a year, and I really loved him and I really respected him, and he was a huge mentor. He was the one that found me when I was living in Maine. You know, like, I was a high school sailing coach right after college and like didn't really have anything going for me, and he drove by, I say drove by, in a 75-foot square top racing cruising boat, and I was like, I will be on that boat if it kills me. And so I went over to him and I was like, I'll do anything. I will scrub the bilge. I will like figure out how to maintenance an engine, even though I didn't know how. I will do anything. And he was kind of like, I guess so. Like, I guess we'll. And I showed up early. I left late, and I never stopped. I scrubbed the bilge till my fingers bled, and I showed up every day. And then I remember that I was like, anytime I would start to get like, trying to feel like I was cool, he'd always be like, never forget, you're always on tryout. You're always trying out. Like you're never let that go with that idea that you're too, hot to trot, because every time you go to the boat, no matter what boat it is or what race it is, you are always trying out. So you're always giving your best. And that kind of stuck with me forever, where every time I show up to a boat, a new Melges 24 with a new owner or a J70, I always show up and I'm like, all right, this is my tryout. Even if it's like the 100th day I've done it, I'm like, it's my tryout and I'm here and we've got to keep. So for the younger generations, like, you're never good enough. Like, no, don't say that. That's terrible. You can always be better. How about that? Sounds much nicer. You can always be better. And so don't be like some of the Newport guys that think that they own everything and they own Newport Shipyard and I'm cool, I've been doing this for 10, 15 years. It doesn't matter how long you've been doing it for. It's the quality at which you do it.
Yeah.
And so every day is a tryout. That's what I think of every day.
That is awesome. That's actually something good to remember. I think I'm going to draw that on the inside of my boat, so everybody, my crew gets to see it every day. Every day is a tryout.
Trust me,
you'll see it on my boat. All right. So with all of that said, what else do you have to add? This is basically your last question. Anything to add after all this?
I guess like no matter I'll give advice or something. I guess what I'm thinking is that you can't go into it like sad. You have to, like, even if it's not the best boat or the best team or anything like that, you have to go into it like it is like the America's Cup or it is my favorite class 40. You have to go into it. I've had a couple people where that have wanted to come and crew for me on a delivery, and I've been like, well, some of my deliveries are like 50-foot cruising boats or a Pearson 36 from Maine to New York. It's like it's going to be long and it's going to be and things going to creak and it's going to be weird, and but you're going to make money and it's going to be fun and you're going to get your miles, and I'm going to smile the whole way, and you're going to learn how to use all the different types of technology, because the more boats you go on, the better you're going to get and the more phone calls you're going to get on a daily basis. Like, and my second thing, I guess I'll go to the second one. Since, the second one is that, like, don't just become a one sailor that only does one thing, because when you get into a quarantine, like what we have now, you stop getting the phone calls if you only work on one team, because that one team you've already talked to, and all of a sudden you're sitting in quarantine with zero money and you're like, well, all right, now what? So instead, like, diversify. Like, I buff boats and I get on the top of scaffolding, and I did the teak on the 50-foot cruising boat last week and I polished the metal. And then on Dragon, I had to call Antal to get this, like, the main car had broken during a jibe, and so I had to get that fixed. And then I had to check on another boat because their ballast tank was all messed up. And so, like, if you want to make money in the sport, because it's not a money maker, you have to do everything. and you have to like show up every day and be like, I'm gonna learn. I'm not gonna be a jerk. I'm not gonna think I'm too hot to trot. I'm gonna talk to the person at the boatyard like they're my best friend, because who knows when your boat starts sinking, at the boatyard ramp, and all of a sudden the guys are like, well, we hated you anyway.
Yeah.
So
They could be the one to save you or watch you sink.
yeah, exactly. So
Make friends when you can.
yeah, I guess that's all I wanted to say.
Okay. Well, listen, we're getting long in the tooth on the timing.
I know, I'm sorry.
Oh, no, it was great. Trust me, it was a lot of fun. Okay, everybody. This is Cole Brauer, excellent sailor, super nice girl, and trust me, she's as much fun as bubbly in person as she is on screen. Always look her up. Hopefully, she'll send me her email, and I'll link that in the bottom of this video for description. So if you need a boat captain or crew or have somebody drive your boat, this is the lady. Don't put her in bow, obviously.
Bow's okay as long as I,
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you very much, everybody. This is Zane from Sailing Views signing off. Don't forget to subscribe and like the video. All right. Thank you very much, and bye-bye.